So A-list casting is about two casting directors and their lovely assistant who have been blackballed by Hollywood, and now they are stuck here in Las Vegas trying to win their way back into Tinseltown's good graces, one erectile dysfunction ad at a time. So our slogan is, when Hollywood spits you out, Vegas sucks you in. It actually got started, our executive producer brought me the idea. His name is Chuck Prater. He's actually one of the lead actors in the show. And he brought me the idea. He's like, hey, I have this idea about doing a show about casting directors, and it should be like a mockumentary and that sort of stuff. And I was like, great, I know a writer. Let's do something. And he's like, great, I'll get the funding and we'll make it happen. 5 years later.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Film Goals Podcast. Today I'm with the one and only Michael Forsch. So, Michael Forsch, you're, I don't know why I say your whole name, Michael Forsch. Now it's a good actor name, actually. You know?
Actually, a lot of people don't say just Michael. They say Michael Forsch a lot. Like, that's just, they can't say just my first name, or they call me Forsch. Like,
Okay, yeah. So you are actor, producer, filmmaker, but you were just telling me about your dance. So let's start with, like, I guess the beginning of your journey as an artist. Like, what got you into art?
Yeah, man. So I was a child actor growing up in Hollywood and LA and stuff. I did a few like little TV shows, nothing huge, but little things here and there as a small kid, and like did like Wonder Years and 30 something, stuff like that. Then I took a break for a little bit. My mom got tired of schlepping me to all these auditions, and I kind of was like more into video games and computers at that point from like 9, 10, 11, 12. But then I decided to get into like music, and my mom wanted me to do more extracurricular activities outside of school. And so she was like, you should play trumpet because your dad did. And I was like, okay, great. So I started taking trumpet lessons, and my teacher was a musical theater director as well. And she decided to start a musical theater group called Steppin' Out. And there led to me becoming a professional dancer, because I kind of got exposed to musical theater and the different styles of dancing. And there was some really strong masculine male dancers that I could look up to. And I was like, hey, this is really cool. I enjoyed it. I had, I guess, a little bit of like natural ability dancing, but I did do a lot of training and became a professional dancer about when I was like 19, while simultaneously still doing acting classes and that sort of stuff. And the thing is, like, it's really, really difficult to book an acting job. There's so much competition. There's a million people that look like you, that act like you and all that. But there wasn't a lot of male dancers in my time of professional dancing. There was a lot fewer competition. So jobs would just come a lot easier. And so it was just sort of path of least resistance. As much as I still love to act, it was very easy, and I had a passion for it. Started training in classical ballet and musical theater dance and commercial dancing, and started doing all that, and then just sort of started dancing in shows all across California and LA and whatever gigs I could get. And it was kind of a living. Like, I would teach dance in LA, and it was kind of strange. Like, there's not a huge, like, especially classical dancing is not necessarily like a great moneymaker in Hollywood and LA, but I somehow managed to do that while simultaneously teaching and doing that sort of stuff. It eventually led me to here in Las Vegas, Las Vegas.
What is commercial dancing?
Commercial dancing, it's like what you would see. I kind of hesitate to call it hip hop dancing, because hip hop dancing isn't necessarily is maybe to like hip hop music, but when you see commercial dancing, it's more about what you would see NSYNC or Backstreet Boys or like Britney Spears. Okay. Or dancing on a commercial, for instance. So it kind of takes that street dancing flavor, but obviously I'm not from the hood. I'm not from the street, but I do enjoy that style a lot. Okay. And so one way to call it is commercial dancing.
What are some of the gigs that did you go on tour as a dancer, or were these like, what kind of gigs did you get?
Oh man, as a dancer, I mean, eventually I ended up here dancing on the Las Vegas Strip for 8 or 9 years. But before that, it was just random. I remember I used to do a yearly Christmas show called The Glory of Christmas in Orange County, where they had like live camels and angels that
Oh,
would fly, and a cast of hundreds and opera singers, and it was like, yeah, whole kind of like Christmas reenactment type stuff, which was really cool. Gosh, I was in a couple of dance companies that come to mind, like a junior dance company and that sort of stuff. And then I did a few commercials too. Like there was a boy band commercial that I did for Orinda, which is an Orange Crush type soft drink, but it was European. And I played like a boy band guy. It was like one of my favorite experiences in my life. It was such a cool shoot.
that's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just basically whatever gig would come up,
Hmm.
I would do it. And yeah, I ended up doing a lot of musical theater too. Like, of course, doing West Side Story. I did that like a million times, like one of my favorite musicals. And there's a few original musicals. And the show that eventually brought me to Vegas was called Shag with a Twist, which is named after the artist Shag, who's pretty famous in like Palm Springs and around town. He's pretty big in the art world, and Art Deco is kind of his style, illustrations. And they made a dance musical about it. And so I was the lead in that. Came here to Las Vegas, and then that show, it was a great show, but it's not necessarily the show to put on here in Las Vegas. Just didn't exactly quite fit, but they really tried to make a big go of it here, and a lot of respect for them. I eventually went to Jubilee. I got an audition and stayed there for about 7.5 years.
Where's that?
So Jubilee was at Bally's, which is now the Horseshoe,
Oh, okay.
and it was there for about 35 years, 36, 1981, 2016. Yeah, 35 years they
Okay.
had that show. It's pretty much the iconic showgirl show that you think of when you see showgirls with the
The big
feathers and
headbands,
they're
yeah.
tall and they wear the headdresses and the whole thing. That's sort of what Jubilee was, along with Follies Bergère too.
Cool. Did you ever get to do dancing for film?
I have, yeah. It's dancing for film is actually really hard.
Yeah.
You have, I mean, with film, it's many, many takes over and over again, and dancing is a very physical activity, and you constantly have to do many, many takes. So keeping up the
Stamina.
durability, the stamina to
Yeah.
be able to do that and to have the same amount of performance is actually much more difficult than I think than performing live, to be honest. Because live, you go up, you have one chance to get it right, and you're done. You finished it. But for film, it's difficult. It's funny. And we'll talk about my TV show later, but we just finished season 2, and we did a dance episode. We've been trying to do one
Nice.
for ever since we've put the show together, but it's just there's so many more elements when you add something like dance or stunts or anything other than just straight up acting. So it was like we did it, and I'm super proud we did, but it's really difficult.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about the acting. You were a dancer here in Vegas, and then you're full time acting after that.
Yeah, so basically what happened is I left my show at Jubilee. I joined another show where I was doing like physical comedy, and and years before that as well. I saw the clowns here in Las Vegas, like the ones in Mystere and O, and the show that's not around anymore, Le Rev, and I totally just fell in love. Like the physical comedy, all of that stuff was just like, oh man, I love this, to being in front, like having an audience laugh and that connection and all that. I was like, that's something I want to do. And so it was sort of interesting. Like it kind of took me out of the dance world, and I just threw myself into that world. And then from there, it sort of brought me back full circle to the acting side. I kind of started doing a couple of comedic plays, and then somehow stumbled upon an acting audition and got for a short film, and kind of got reconnected with my acting that I did as a teenager and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, I kind of had forgotten how much I loved the acting. And I guess you never really forget, but it just sort of rekindled that focus. And at this point, I had looked around. was about 35, and I didn't really see any more dance jobs for me that were a good fit, as I'm older and couldn't do all the crazy things that I used to be able to do, and I wasn't an acrobat, and circ wasn't really an option, all that stuff. So there wasn't really any shows. So it kind of just felt like a natural transition. So I started small here in doing a couple of short films. I kind of got connected with the film community and started working around. And shortly thereafter, booked my first feature film with the Mahal Empire. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, the Mahal brothers.
Yeah, the Mahal brothers, Michael and Sonny. But one of their big, I don't think it was their first feature. It was maybe their second feature. But I ended up being one of the leads in that, and I'm still friends with a lot of the guys from that. It was kind of like a lot of ours first feature. So sort of going from there and expanding out, and eventually started working in as many projects as I could on film. It just became like my new focus in life, even though I was still performing on the strip, still doing other things. And from there, I just started seeing like, oh man, I really have an affinity for this filmmaking stuff, and I'm seeing other people be successful, and it doesn't look as hard to be a filmmaker as I thought it might be. And so I had one of my best friends growing up, and we danced together, and he was always like a natural writer and director. I approached him and was like, hey, you told me the story. I think you need to actually write it. I think we could produce this film. And so that was our first short film, Burrow. And it was a really cool story about a father and son stuck in a drug smuggling ring and trying to work their way out of it. And actually won quite a few awards and was pretty cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Made it for our first short film ever. It's beautifully shot, and we've used the same cinematographer ever since, Dustin Robinson. He's really, really good.
So how was your transition from just being like in front of the camera as an actor and then doing everything else that comes with like producing?
I started slowly. I sort of was acting and doing a couple of projects, and I approached the Mahal brothers and a few other people and be like, hey, I really feel like I would be good at the casting side of things, because I have a good understanding of like what it takes on the acting side, and I know how to choose and what to look for roles. And so that sort of just snowballed, and I've casted over 7 feature films all kinds of things like that. So I first got an understanding for that, and then working on our first short film, and I was smart enough or lucky enough to surround myself with people who are working professionals in the environment. I'm like, hey, I'm producing and directing this, but this is my first time. I'm leaning heavily on you guys. You need to tell me, hey, this isn't going to work, or this is how you should do this. Here's a proper way to do that. So I just sort of learned on the fly, on the go, and from people who are already working professionals, which is kind of like sort of like going to film school without going to film school. You just kind of just throw yourself in there and learn. And so that transition, I feel like I'm still learning. Like we're still learning like how to make your process even better. And even shooting our second season of my TV show, I'm still being like, oh, okay, dang, I wish I had done this better or done that right. Or we could definitely figure out, we definitely push ourselves and are very ambitious. And now I always tell my co-creator, like, okay, if I ever say we're going to do 28 pages in a day again, you need to slap me in the face, because that's insane.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we jump to the TV show, I do want to ask you, because it kind of relates, right, with the casting. You casted 7 feature films. So what do you look for and when it comes to casting people? And like if you were to tell an actor, because if actors watch this, like...
Absolutely. So advice for actors who want to be cast, what do I look for personally is if you're right for the role. That I know that's weird, but I want to see if you can follow directions. So like you look at the casting breakdown, and if we say, here's where and when and how to submit, if you can't follow those directions, you're not going to follow directions on set. So read the casting notice very thoroughly and make sure you follow those directions to a T. That's the first thing to start. Make sure that you have professional headshots. I don't care if you don't have a real resume. Honestly, most of the time, I just want to know that you have a resume. I may glance at it, but what I'm really looking for is your performance as the character. So if you don't have a resume or don't be ashamed about having a small resume or whatever, that doesn't really matter to me and to a lot of indie filmmakers, because we know we're hiring people on micro budgets. We're not paying a lot. We're not expecting A-list Hollywood actors to come work for us. We're looking for the diamonds in the rough, people who are passionate and want to do this because they love filmmaking, they love acting, that sort of thing. And that's what we're looking for. Next, in the actual audition, you don't have to dress like like if the character is a cop, I don't expect you to dress in a police uniform. But what I do expect you, no, it can be distracting even.
Okay.
What I am looking for you is to dress in cop-like clothes. So like maybe if you're an investigator, you're wearing a suit. Don't just wear raggedy sweatpants and a t-shirt. Like dress how a cop might dress, or maybe they're an off-duty cop or something. How would that cop look? How would that cop style themselves? That shows an attention to detail. And then of course the important part is the performance. That's what beats everything else. You can throw everything out the window. If your performance is exactly right, then there you go. You're going to get the job no matter what. But all those other things kind of inform the performance anyway. So
do you still get the same view? I guess the same view of casting people after the pandemic, when everyone's sending self tapes, because a lot of it, even though the pandemic is over, a lot of stuff is they're casting through just self tapes. Like they're not even doing auditions and stuff.
It is all self tapes now, and in a way, as an actor, that has helped me. And I also feel it hinders you. I feel very confident walking into a room and people giving me a cold read, like a paper, and go study it for 5 minutes and just go and give you a performance. For me, that's almost easier than going in and working for a day and a half, like preparing all my beats and figuring out my motivations and the subtext and all of that for the character. If I don't have a choice and you hand me something in 5 minutes and I just have to make some choices as best I can, that's almost a relief for me. I'm like, great, there's nothing else I can do. I have no choice but to do something. But for self-tapes, like it's great because I'm able to be seen, and people outside everybody's able to be seen very quickly. You can tell within 30 seconds to 45 seconds if somebody's, like almost even before they open their mouth, if they're going to be right for the role. We'll give people a lot longer, but it gets to a point when you are doing self-tape castings that you see, what you're looking for, and somebody will start an audition and you're like, nope, they're not right, not this time, or they're not ready, that sort of thing. And so you can go very quickly and see more people. You can see hundreds of people rather than, you only have a certain amount of time. Like even if you're just doing 10 minutes per actor per day, that's still like, 10, 12-hour day. It's exhausting. So we generally, the self-tapes are good and bad. It definitely has changed a lot. I personally, everybody I feel like is adapted to doing the self-tape, and you kind of gotten used to it. And it's tough because there is no one in the room to be like, okay, cool, that's not exactly what we're looking for. Why don't you try this? And if you don't get that from, you may give a great performance, but if it's not right, you don't get that chance to like redo it another way, what they're looking for. You don't get that opportunity. So I feel like that's the heavy downside to self-tapes.
Okay.
And on the casting side of thing, I'm sort of have learned from that, and that if I see somebody and I know they're a good actor and they're the right type for the role, and maybe they're making the wrong choices, I'll be like, hey, I feel like this person is good. And if we give them a redirect with notes on how we see the character in the scene, like, let's give them that chance. And like early on, I was just like, no, they didn't nail it right out of the bat. And I was like, wait a minute, how would I feel as an actor if all I needed was a few adjustments to get what you're looking for?
So let's talk. Let's talk about the show. So it's called A-List, right?
It's called A-List Casting. Yeah.
A-List Casting. So it kind of goes with the casting theme that we're talking about. How did you come up with the idea, and tell us about it?
Awesome. So A-List Casting is about two casting directors and their lovely assistant who have been blackballed by Hollywood, and now they are stuck here in Las Vegas trying to win their way back into Tinseltown's good graces, one erectile dysfunction ad at a time. So our slogan is, when Hollywood spits you out, Vegas sucks you in.
Nice.
It actually got started. Our executive producer brought me the idea. His name is Chuck Prater. He's actually one of the lead actors in the show. And he brought me the idea. He's like, hey, I have this idea about doing a show about casting directors. And it should be like a mockumentary and that sort of stuff. And I was like, great, I know a writer. Let's do something. And he's like, great. I'll get the funding and we'll make it happen. 5 years later. TV shows are hard to produce, friends. My recommendation to you indie filmmakers is don't do TV shows or do what we're doing. We'll get that in a minute, but make a feature film. Much easier to distribute, much easier to sell. Once it's like a fully finished product and it's done, and boom, you can sell it and recoup your money a lot faster. We took the show, got a lot of great interest, and the main problem, of course, is funding. So unfortunately for indie filmmakers, distributors don't want to necessarily give you money up front for something that hasn't been made already. And streaming platforms already have all their own writers and all their own people creating their shows. So unless you can bring something to the platforms, like an audience, in fact, they have very little interest. Or if they do have interest, they'll be like, great, that's a great idea. Here's a nice little check of a few $1,000s, and we're going to take your idea and make it our own. So we've gone through many evolutions of the project. We've shot a full pilot. We started off with a trailer. And then we shopped it around. We got three offers of distribution. But the caveat is you need to make a full season. And we're like, great. A full season is very difficult to make on our budget. Yeah. It's gonna cost a lot of money, and that's just not something that we can do. So I had a meeting with Chuck, and he was like, well, let's do what we can do, which is make short miniature episodes of between 3 to 6 to I think this next season will have like 8 to 10 minutes, but the season 1 is like 3 to 6 minute long episodes, and put those on YouTube and grow a following and a fan base, and get people to be invested in the show that way. And we'll do a couple things. We'll be able to monetize a channel, create an influx of income for the TV show, which will be able to then create more TV shows online. It'll grow a fan base, which will then potentially give us leverage to take it and make full-length episodes. Or it becomes so crazily popular that we won't even need a big streaming platform. We'll continue to do like the AVOD, advertising video on demand. Those are ones you can upload for free on YouTube, and there's a few of them, and you can make your own. You can control your own destiny, have full creative control. So
how many episodes was the first season?
First season was 8 episodes. Okay. They're fully released. You can watch them now on YouTube. Just search A-List Casting, and we have a bunch of little mini shorts on there too, if you want to just look. But it's a quick watch. You can watch the entire season in about 25 minutes. So,
okay. So what is kind of like the plot, or I mean, it's a comedy obviously about actors, but are you focusing on people coming into like the office to audition, or is there multiple storylines?
What I like to think of about TV shows is sometimes you'll have shows, and if you just say, yeah, it's a show about people working in an office, that sounds incredibly boring, right? And so what is it really about? It's really about the characters, and if you can make people fall in love with the characters, then it doesn't matter what everything else is about. You want to see what that person is going to do next, or you want to see what's happening now, or what kind of crazy hijinks have they gotten themselves into.
Yeah.
So when you say what is the show really about, I would say it's about family, maybe a dysfunctional family at some points, that everybody has their flaws and their craziness, but at the end of the day, it's about growing together and coming together at the end and supporting each other, and dealing with the crazy folk that come in and out to audition. I'm sure you've seen just how interesting the people that come in to audition for your projects.
Yeah.
So we're just kind of taking that and, of course, expanding it and making it into, more comedic and rather than anything else. And it's a fun show. We like to think that Las Vegas is almost a character itself too, because you get to see all kinds of weird acrobats and jugglers and whatever coming in, and of course everybody's an actor as well. So you can talk to any magician or any acrobat or any clown, and they're all interested in being in your feature film. Everybody wants to act in a movie, even if they've never done it before and all they know how to do is throw knives. So I guess it's a fun experience. It's about what it's like to be in Las Vegas.
That's cool, man. So I know you said like you had to transition to like making smaller, I guess, episodics. What some of the challenges that came up even doing that?
Time. It's always, it's every indie filmmaker's problem is time and money. Yeah. So we shot last year all 8 episodes in 2 days.
Wow.
For budgetary reasons, and they're all 3 to 6 pages, and we had to rush. I think our main cinematographer actually came for the first half of the first day, but then he was booked on a real job, so we had to bring out another cinematographer who did a great job. Shout out to my boy. He's normally like a Steadicam up, but he's also a great cinematographer himself. And so we filmed just as much as we could. I think it was more close to, we did 4 episodes. I think we did about like 16 to 18 pages a day. We move really, really quick, and we kind of just embrace that cameraman just being in the room. We don't have like the crazy light setup. We have, but most of the time it's one camera, one light. Make sure that the lighting looks pretty good, and the camera is really good, and the cinematographer is really good, and we don't have to adjust too much other than that. And it's just us in the room making the show as quick as we can, but also having a lot of laughs.
That's cool, man. Well, I can't wait to check it out. Anything else you got going on? I know this is your big project right now, but anything else you got going on before we wrap it up?
Let's see. Mainly we're doing season 2 is in post-production for A-list casting. We're also doing a film festival circuit for my short film. It's called The Eternos. So they'll be playing in Las Vegas, I think, sometime in April, I hope. And that's like my main. I've got a million other projects just like everybody else, but those are the ones that I'm talking about. Yeah. Everything else is secret.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks for being on the podcast. Appreciate it. And I'll leave all his info below. Go check out the show, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Peace. A-list casting.